afternoon, everyone. Happy Thursday. How's everybody's day going? How's everybody's week going? Hopefully, you're all having a good day. It's Thursday, one day away from Friday. It's almost a weekend. Shout out to everybody in the chat. Make sure you all hit that like button, hit that subscribe button, share this channel out with everyone you know. I would greatly appreciate it. I'm going to have former Major League Baseball pitcher David Aardsma on the show here momentarily. So I'll just chat it up with you guys until then. So I'm looking forward to the interview. Shout out to Nitin Ramachandra, who is in the chat right now, for him and his team making this happen. They're always working hard and, working on getting guests on channels like mine and other people's channels as well. And we got John the Beagle Dad, and it looks like I have our special guest in the back. David, if you're ready to go, man, just go ahead and give me a thumbs up. I'll get you up here. Perfect. David, hey, how's it going, man?
I am doing great. I apologize for being a little late for the show. I was actually recording my own show, and it just kept going. We were talking about the World Series. How do you not stop? How do you stop talking about the World Series and the amazing, just there's so many, didn't turn out to be that giant Goliath versus Goliath, like that perfect battle we were all looking for, Game 7, and the Dodgers having to make a choice if Ohtani's going to pitch and Judge is coming up. We didn't turn out to that, but there are so many storylines and stuff that is so hard to I'm not energized like this many times, and I'm usually this really cool, calm, and I got to bring energy for shows. This is just it's all crazy. It's natural.
Yeah, no, it's all good, man. And don't worry about being late. I literally just went live a couple of minutes ago, so you're all good. If guests come on a few minutes late, I'll just talk to the chat or whoever's in there. So I try to keep it entertaining. But first, thank you for joining. Thank you for taking the time out of your day. And like you said, man, I can't blame you for talking about the World Series. I mean, yeah, I'm with you right there that I thought it was going to be like a Goliath versus Goliath type of World Series, but it was a very unusual World Series. I'm sure it had a lot of ratings. I'm sure a lot of people tuned in, everywhere from here in this country to Japan to, the Latino world. So, I'm sure a lot of folks were tuning in. So, but yeah, it wasn't that World Series that you were describing it. It was a little unusual. What's your take on it? How did you feel about it?
Well, I didn't see the numbers for the rest of the World Series, but I do know Game 1. I believe there was a higher viewership in Japan than there was in the United States, which makes sense, right? Why wouldn't it? I mean, the only way it'd be higher is if there was a Japanese player on the Yankees that was, an everyday guy or something like that, like a closer. So you had complete opposites of starter, DH, and a closer, all all this. But yeah, I can't imagine the viewership was low. I can't imagine it was pretty monstrous. It was a pretty big deal. My overall take, though, of the World Series, I thought it was I thought overall it was a very entertaining series. Let's just put it that way. It might not have ended how we wanted or we got the show we wanted. But still, when you walk through game by game by game and you're going from the Freddie Freeman walk-off grand slam to the Yankees kind of blow up in the bullpen, to the Yankees coming back and Volpe having his moment and then Judge struggling, then having his thing, and Ohtani having the injury, and then you're getting in there and if you think it's going to be 3-0, then it's 3-1, and then you have this Garrett Cole Judge Volpe complete collapse of an inning, and the Dodgers coming through. I thought it was a great series, at least at the entertaining. And when you have two great teams, two teams that probably on paper, probably Vegas was look at this, they had probably the most money on both of them to win the World Series. And if I had my money at the beginning of the year and someone really put a gun to my head, I would have said Dodger Yankees. You have to, that's probably the highest odds. And you get it. It's not going to be perfect, but man, we got a great series. And I look at it. My interesting question is how is this series going to be remembered? Is it going to be the Freddie Freeman World Series? 4 home runs in the first 4 games, 6 home runs in the playoffs in a row with a grand slam, walk-off grand slam, and winning the MVP? Is it going to be the Yankee collapse of that inning and the Garrett Cole decision game 1 where you take him out, you put in Nestor Cortes? Like, is it going to be that? Is it going to be kind of like Soto's last game as the Yankees? Is that going to be remembered, or is he going to play for so much longer that we'd never even think about it? Or is it going to be like Jazz Chisholm kind of having his moment as a Yankee? Is it going to be, just Dave Roberts just mastering that bullpen and that matchups and what to do, and really every single string he pulled worked? How are you going to look back at this? Is this the Dodgers moment where they have that they didn't get the 2020 celebration? And I have, the first thing I thought was they didn't have the 2020 celebration. It was all separated. You couldn't do any of this. There's not even a doubt in my mind, if I'm sitting there and I'm in the front office or I'm in a marketing choice, I'm saying, get every single dude from 2020 here now. Like, we're going to do it all. We're going to have 2 separate cars. We're going to have one for everyone that's on both teams. And we're going to everybody. Because think about some of those players on that 2020 team, like, that aren't there anymore. That you're telling me Justin Turner doesn't have a part to play in all of this, and he doesn't deserve to be holding up that trophy, like, for the fans. They should have just the biggest blowout in history. Bring it to the Coliseum, and just go for it.
Yeah, I mean, it was an epic. It was definitely an epic year. It was a good year for the Dodgers, right? And would you even say the Dodgers beat the Yankees, or was it Freddie Freeman that beat the Yankees? Because Freddie Freeman certainly put on a show in this World Series. But I'm not taking anything. I can't take anything away from the rest of the Dodgers team. Everybody on that team stepped up in their own way. Even with Shohei Ohtani not really performing up to par, up to what we would have expected. But same thing could have been said. Could be said about Aaron Judge, although. Aaron Judge he came alive for in the last 2 games, at least. He came alive last night. Unfortunately, he had that costly error, which led to the Yankees collapse in that 5th inning. And then they ended up obviously clearly losing the game, and they lost, Dodgers ended up winning the World Series. The Dodgers, they were the better team. But like you asked, was it the Freddie Freeman show, or was it just, is it the Yankees collapse? What is it? How will this season be remembered? I feel like it depends on which are you a fan of the Yankees or the Dodgers? Because if you're a fan of the Dodgers, you're going to be like, oh yeah, we beat the Yankees in 5 games, and Freddie Freeman was the hero in this World Series, who was hit a home run in almost every game of the series. And then if you're a Yankees fan, you're just like, yeah, this is the collapse of 2024 Game 5. It just depends on what team you root for and what team you were wanting to win. So I think it just depends on what team you were rooting for at the end of the day.
Right, and Freddie obviously 12 RBIs, 6 hits, 5 runs, like 20 at bats. He had 6 hits. I mean, that's huge in itself.
Mm-hmm.
Over 1,300 OPS. But you got to look too. Tommy Edmonds had a great series, some great plays defensively too. Teoscar, and then the line gets a little thin on that Dodgers side, but like Kike, like the little fanfare or reception, or I don't want to say notoriety, of that trade or signing, of bringing him in at the deadline, dude, that was a mastery move. Like, you bring in a guy that can play every single position, including probably pitch and catch, a clubhouse guy that everybody loves. I played with him when I was with the Dodgers, and I saw him the day before the Dodgers signed him. He was hitting at a batting cage I was working at, like I was training at, and he's like free agent. You're like, dude, like, I even told him, like, are the Dodgers talking? Basically, he's like, maybe. And I'm like, yeah, you're gonna be a Dodger and win the World Series. Like, good for you. And it's just there's so much going on there. But Freddie Freeman, I mean, at the end of the day, no matter what we end up talking about this World Series, Freddie Freeman he had it, and there's so many storylines again from his life this year.
Yeah.
And it all comes to this. And I know I'm talking about the Yankees a lot, Dodgers a lot, but Yankees obviously have so many more. They have so many storylines as well. And that's what still makes this great. We're talking about the World Series. We're not even talking about just the series. And we're talking about it's bigger than the World Series. Because like Soto, maybe his last game, did this cement Giancarlo Stanton as maybe a Hall of Famer? Did this cement him as a Yankee too? Like that means something by the type of series he had, type of playoffs he had. Garrett Cole is as again one of the best pitchers in baseball, if not the best pitcher in baseball. The way he stepped up and he made a mistake and still was able to pitch. And anyways, it's pretty good for baseball. I think this worked out.
Yeah, no, it was good. As a baseball fan, if you're just a fan of the sport, without having any sort of biases, this was a World Series. There's a lot of stories, like you said, right earlier. But you looking at it from the Yankees side too, right? Look, in the beginning of the season, before the season even started, a lot of the experts, I mean, whoever that may be, right? Whoever that is, you are definitely an expert, yes.
Yes,
I appreciate it. But what I'm getting at though is that with the Yankees, this team, according to the experts, they were supposed to be a fourth place team. They were supposed to have 74 wins. They weren't supposed to even make the playoffs. They had a terrible
loss.
Were
they really? Was that what they were?
Yeah.
Interesting.
Yeah. There was people that were saying this. They were predicting that this team was going to win 74 games, and at best they were a fourth place team. I'm like, they made some additions.
Yeah, like what team are you looking at?
I don't know.
I don't want to face this team.
Yeah, they made an addition. I mean, they traded for Juan Soto, but a lot of, I think some of it was experts. A lot of it was also fans, but we know that fans can be very emotional. As you know, yeah, as you know, you played the game. I'm sure you as an athlete when you were playing professionally. I'm sure you've heard. I don't know how much you've read comments from fans or if you've tuned them out. But
read too many, way too many.
You read too many? Okay.
I read too many. I because I don't know. I'm a human too.
Yeah, sure. Did you just like point and laugh, or were you just like seriously?
Yes. There was a lot of pointing and laughing, a lot of disregarding. There was one when I was on the White Sox. I got a letter that was quite remarkable. That was pretty bad and nasty.
Wow.
And a couple other guys had gotten letters from the same person, but it was actually kind of funny. Like the best thing could have happened was Ozzie Guillen takes it, and he's like, he basically had like a team meeting, like a congratulations team meeting. That was the first real bad fan mail where basically somebody told me to die and go kill myself. And they sent one to Mike McDougal, and there's a bunch of things about him, what he should be doing with sheep. And they had mentioned me too in my letter. Like, he's like, why don't you and Mike McDougal go enjoy a sheep together? And that was pretty funny. So they put it up on the bulletin board next to like the lineup card. And that was pretty good. Like there's a great way to look at it. It's like, hey, like if somebody's writing about you, they care. That means you matter or something. Like to somebody, you matter. Whether it be good or bad, you matter.
Yeah. I mean, but the fact of the matter is, I mean, fans spend all that energy, and it's just like, I was just like, I was like, these players, I hate when players make threats or write nasty letters to fans, because that happened with Carlos Rodon when he had a bad outing. People were sending some nasty messages about to his wife, about his family, and I'm like, that's disgusting, man. It's such a cowardly act. And I've brought it up before on one of the other live streams that I did, and it's such a cowardly act. And those fans, if they are even fans, they ought to be ashamed of themselves. It's uncalled for. But yeah, I was curious for you as an athlete, because you played for a lot of different teams yourself. You were all over Major League Baseball. So was there, like, for you as a player, was there any team that you liked playing for the most, and any team that you were just like, get me out of here? And it's all open. I'm not tied to anybody.
Yes, I will address this. I mean, again, I played and I don't know if there's any team that I played for that has the same regime outside of the Yankees, right? Like Cashman, but like none of the coaching staffs there. So like I don't know if anybody has the same kind of regime. Maybe some owners, obviously, a lot of those are the same. So I'll say this straight up. The White Sox was not a great experience for me. The way the team was run, and a lot of it had to do with Ozzie. And I've had plenty of great conversations with Ozzie in the past and since. And Kenny Williams, the GM at the time, like plenty of great conversations. Awesome. I get along better with him probably now than I ever did then. But how the team was run with the staff, with the pitching coaches and everybody, like Don Cooper, like it just wasn't me. It wasn't an environment or a coaching staff that was going to make me better. That doesn't mean it work for everybody else. They won a World Series all together. There was guys that obviously loved that environment. It just wasn't for me. That was probably the worst. And I pitched my worst, and I get it. Like, and I get when I go back and I get like crap from team players and stuff. Like, I got the most when I was a White Sox, and I deserved it. I had a great first month, and I crap the rest of the year. Anyways, but the best two organizations I played for, the ones that just kind of jump out above everybody else, was the Red Sox and the Mariners. Mariners at the time, because of the team, the group, the front office and the players, and even some of the staff, we were all like that group of misfit toys. Like we were all the misfits, the guys that no one wanted. They were a 110 loss team the year before. They threw us all together. And we all were looking and searching for something or a place to come back. Like Mike Sweeney, Griffey, Adrian Beltre was trying to come back from just kind of disappearing when he went to Seattle. To the entire bullpen was just a bunch of guys that struggled and coming together. Like Jared Washburn was trying to figure out his career, and we had, Felix was steady. Obviously, Felix is Felix, but Felix is kind of disappearing in Seattle, right? Like, kind of when you have a 110 loss team or 105 loss team, like you kind of start to disappear, and he's too great of a pitcher for that. Ichiro would figure out whether his career is done or whatnot. Like, so we had so many guys that just kind of came together. Like even Don Wakamatsu, first time being a manager. Our GM was the first time being a GM. Like all these guys that were kind of like just together at this perfect moment, and it was just perfect. I'd never been on a team where usually like maybe like 2 or 3 guys you all hang out with, you go out, when you get to a new city, you go get dinner together, right? Or the bullpen. That's pretty cool when the bullpen goes out. But we were going like the entire pitching staff, like all 12, 13 guys would go out to dinner together. And like wherever we were as a group. And the coaches were welcome, which never happens. Like we'd bring the coaches to dinners, to team, to like the player dinners. Like, but these aren't even player dinners. These are just Thursday night. It's like every team has like team dinners. This is Thursday night. Like we land in a city. Where are we going? And it's like there's a zero, like when you all get together and you're all just feeling that vibe. There's no question. It's not like, oh guys, I got this. No, it's like, all right, cool. Where we're going? Like we're all together. And then most of the time, the hitters and the pitchers that would end up like hanging out together. That never happens. Like all 25 guys we'd be at a restaurant or a bar having a drink together. And it was just this vibe. And the wives liked each other. Like, what the hell? The wives liked each other. So we'd come home and then we'd all go out to dinner together. Like 50 deep now, because we got wives and then we got kids and family all hanging out. Like Ichiro, we kept bugging Ichiro. Ichiro always had this attitude, or not attitude, a persona that people had given him, that he was always, no, just Ichiro, just leave Ichiro alone. He doesn't do anything with the team. He does his own thing. And like we got this team together. We basically said like, F this, Ichi, we're going out. Where are we going? And he's like, no. Like, hey, I got my routine. I got my thing. And then we broke him. And he said, okay, fine. He goes, well, I'm taking you all out and you're coming to my restaurant. Like, and so we all had a team dinner at his restaurant. So because he wanted to be a part of it. He wanted to be a part of that group so bad. And we were finally like not letting him in his little, like, to live in his little dungeon. We're Icho. No, you're part of this, dude. Like, you're one of us. Just because you're greatest right fielder, Japanese, maybe the best hitter of all time, doesn't mean you're anything special. Like, come, let's go. Like, Griffey's with us. Well, come on, let's go. And then the Red Sox was a win. Like I'd never been in an organization outside the Yankees that was just like, hey, your job's here to win. And that's it. Your job is here to win. The difference of the Yankees, I always felt like constantly made you remember that you're not Mickey Mantle and you're not Babe Ruth and you're not Lou Gehrig and you're not, you're not whoever the hell name you want to just drop in that place. Like they would always remind you you're not that guy. And so it made you feel like, well, then why the hell am I here? Why do I matter? Mm-hmm. Again, they won and they do their way, but you never felt special. The Red Sox would make you feel special, but they'd also say you're here to win. Now you are here to win. Don't forget that. And if you win, we will give you whatever you want. Like we wanted heaters in the bullpen, right? Like heaters at Boston in April. Like they literally said, I'll never forget this. On the day I die, they said, go have a great road trip and we'll see. And we just fucking kicked ass. Sorry.
Yeah.
We kicked butt. And we come back and there's the greatest heater ever now in the bullpen. And then we wanted an ice cream machine and a sauna. Little things that just because you're there all the time. This is your life. It's kind of like how you'd want a sauna at home. If you're kicking butt at work, you're like, cool. I want a sauna in my house. Well, It's like, all right, your wife goes, all right, well, go have a great week and go make a bunch of money. That's basically what they told us. And we went and had a great week. And we went to, I'll never forget, we went to Philly, swept Philly, who ended up winning the World Series that year. We swept Philly in Philly. We come back, we got a sauna and an ice cream machine. We're like, I never felt that oh, winning is important here. Like everyone else is like, yeah, we talk about winning, but no, they're like, no, what we're like, when you wear Red Sox across your chest, it means something different. And I'll never forget, Gary Tuck, the bullpen coach, would be like, all the time, he goes, welcome to baseball. He goes, you've been playing in the minor leagues when you're with all those other teams. This is big league baseball here. It's like, wait, I'm in the big leagues. Like, no, this is different. This is the AL East. This is Boston. This is different. And you're like, yeah. And and they made you realize that it's different. There are places that are different expectations. Like go to Seattle. Seattle didn't have those expectations. There was nothing like that. I loved Seattle, but there was no expectations to win. It was like, yeah, our job is to win, but there was just if you don't win, you're out. And that's how it felt there. Now the Yankees were the same way, except for if you don't win, we've got 1,000 guys right behind you waiting to take your job.
Yeah.
And it just, that feels a little different. It's like, no, you matter here. And that might have been Terry Francona, and that might have been the front office, with all those guys, Theo and all the guys in the front office, making you feel special enough and family, and really caring about family. Like the Yankees care about family. My wife was having a kid, and I had to fight to go home and see my childbirth. I had to fight for it I was on a rehab assignment, and I had to fight to get to Arizona to see my child being born, because they're like, no, you're a Yankee. This is more important. And I'm like, the Red Sox would have been like, David, you're leaving and you're coming back to do your job, but you're going. You are not missing that. That's how, if I would have ever gone to Terry Francona and said, hey, I'm not going to see my childbirth, I'd rather be here, he would have choked me and put me in a cab and said, no, you go and come back. Because I'll never forget, in spring training, he said the most important thing is family, because if you're happy at home, you're going to be better here. And there's a reason why he wins everywhere. If he was a Yankee, he'd have 6 World Series titles under his belt if he was a Yankee.
Oh, Francona, yeah,
yeah.
Now he's back as a manager for the Cincinnati Reds. I'm a Francona fan. I really like Terry Francona, and I'm sorry that you had to experience that at the time with the baby being born. Man, that's not okay. It's not cool. But it just pisses me off. It really, just people not having any compassion. But it sounded like, being with the Mariners, though, it was very team oriented. They had a family vibe to it. I think with, playing for Seattle and playing for New York, you're getting 2 totally different organizations, because, Seattle, I feel like, being that West Coast team, things are a little more laid back, a little more relaxed, where it's like, New York, it's East Coast. There's a lot of aggressiveness, a lot of, I don't want to call it hardcore, but, they expect you to be a little bit tougher, physically and mentally. So, I get it. And New York is a rough place. I was born and raised there. I don't live there no more, but I get it. And you were born in I was reading you were born in Denver.
Yes.
I live in Colorado, by the way.
All right. Where at?
Just 20 minutes north of Denver.
Okay, cool.
Yeah. I don't you still live in Colorado or no?
No, I'm in Arizona.
Oh, you're in Arizona. Okay, well, yeah, you're not missing the cold weather then. So that's good. That's good.
It feels cold. It's like in the 70s. That's really cold.
But 70s in Colorado is like a summer day. It's a beautiful day.
It's just right now it's almost 40 degrees colder than it was like 2 weeks ago. That's the difference. It's like 40 degrees colder and it's 75.
Yeah. Well, I know when that sun sets in Arizona, man, it cools off. It cools off big time, especially around the winter time, fall time. So because I've been to Arizona and I noticed during the day it's beautiful, it's sunny, like it's nice and warm. But then, like I said, as soon as that sun sets, it's like it cools down big time. So I'm like, wow, it's a good thing I brought a hoodie with me because I would have been screwed. But I wanted to ask you though, David. Now, I did read that your parents were born in the Netherlands, right?
No, so my family's all from the Netherlands, but they were born in Michigan.
Okay.
Both my parents were born Michigan and stuff, and then moved to Denver. But like all my family basically through Holland, Michigan, and stuff like that. But both sides of my family are all Dutch. My grandma was the first one born in the United States.
Oh, all right. Yeah, because like I was gonna ask you because I was gonna be like, okay, well, he's of Dutch descent.
Yes.
If his family was born, or I didn't know if your family was born there, but if they were, I was gonna be like, man, how come they never got you into soccer or something? Because soccer's so big in the Netherlands. Why not? How did you get into baseball? But I want to ask though, like, how did you get into baseball? How did you first fall in love with the sport? Were there any other sports that you played when you were growing up?
Okay, so it's funny though. You bring up Team Netherlands. I was supposed to be on the very first World Baseball Classic in 2006.
Yeah,
supposed to be on it. Me and Mark Mulder, who were boys now, like our kids played baseball together for 3-4 years. But I wasn't close enough in the line to be able to technically be on the roster. Then they told me, because the first one they could set their own rules. Every country had their own rules, and so I was like one generation off from what they wanted. And they're like, we have enough players. We would like to have you, but we had enough. Actually worked out really well because I had a hell of a spring training for the Cubs and ended up like kind of cementing myself a little bit as a big leaguer because of that. And I might have missed that if I would have gone to the Netherlands. But out of Colorado, I lived like south of Denver.
Mm-hmm.
In like oh my God, I'm just dying of the name. I keep wanting to say Park Ridge. That's where my wife is from, but that's not where I grew up. But south of Denver by Castle Rock,
yes,
Larkspur,
yeah,
in there, and Perry Park. Sorry, Perry Park was where I kind of grew up. It's like a tiny little town, tiny little town in the foothills. But we moved to Southern California, and so that was a giant culture shock. So like I'm in like the mountains, and I'm literally just riding my bike by myself, me and my sister. We're playing with horses and got a couple friends, but we're literally by ourselves basically. And then you go out to Southern California and it's like baseball. And that was really it. And so I just fell in love with baseball. Around us, really baseball and soccer were the two sports. Soccer at the time had a stigma of like kind of be a very soft sport. For Americans, especially Americans to play. And I love it now. But back then that was straight up like everybody's like, oh, you're going to play soccer. Like, oh, but like that's just what it was. That was just the stigma around it. That doesn't mean right or wrong. That's what it was. But baseball was life in Southern California and right where I was and lived right by baseball fields. And so I started playing it in Little League when I moved out to California and just fell in love with it. And I was a giant Cubs fan because you come home from sports, you come home from school, and you turn on TV and Harry Carey is like right there all the time. And so I grew up a huge monster Cubs fan. You see it right above me.
Oh yeah.
It's a picture of Ryan Sandberg up there. He was my hero. You can't see all of it, but like I was a monster Cubs fan growing up, and so that's how I fell in love with baseball. Just being there, hearing Harry Carey's voice, being the Cubs, and then playing Little League baseball, and then moving back to Denver for high school and going to Cherry Creek High School and stuff like that.
Yeah, Cherry Creek. I'm definitely very familiar with that school. So yeah. I've
it's hard not to be, right? If you're into high school anything in Colorado, like that's it. Cherry Creek.
Yeah. Oh, for sure. And Cherry Creek was always in the conversation when it came to their sports teams. So I worked with a guy one time, and very much he's a Denver native, loves Denver, and he could tell me everything and anything about Denver. So. And he still kept up with the schools, even went back to, I was just like, man, I think this guy wishes he was back in high school again. So, no, and I understand. I can appreciate that from someone who really loves their city very much, and, is still involved with like the community, so I can appreciate that. But yeah, so, did it as a player though for you, because you've played for so many different teams and you never really got to settle, for, X amount of years. You moved around a lot, man. So would you say that was probably the hardest thing for you as a professional athlete, just not being able to settle with a team and just being constantly just moved around a lot?
Yes and no.
Okay.
It became very, very normalized. That's the thing about it. It became normal to be on different teams every year. Even talking about like my growing up, right? My dad worked for Waste Management, was always kind of taking these opportunities to move up through the organization. So I moved from Denver to Larkspur or Prairie Park to Colorado or to California, back to Denver. Like in high school, my dad moved to Northern California, and my mom and I stayed, but then we went up back with him and then came back and finished out in Colorado. And then my mom ended up meeting up with him, coming back. Then they moved to Houston. So then I went to Penn State. I moved down to Houston with my parents, like when they were back in Houston. And then I transferred to Rice. And then and then I get drafted, and though I'm gone again. So I was always in this transition of like different teams and stuff, not necessarily on purpose, but just trying to, just growing up, and this is what you do, right? And so it felt normal to me to get traded. It felt normal for me to try different organizations. I'll say this. When I was with the Giants, and the Giants drafted me, and they will without a doubt forever in my heart be my team, like that I like when I talk about like who I played for and all that stuff. Yes, I spent the most time with the Mariners, and that probably means the most to me. But there was a special place always in my heart that I played for the Giants, and I was drafted, I was chosen, and they picked me, and that's different, and it will always be there. So I never thought of being anything besides a San Francisco Giant. And then they traded me to my dream team, like my Cubs, like wow, you're a little kid, drawing in at 10 o'clock at night when your parents tells you to turn off the light about you're drawing Cub logos. Yeah. And my bird was named Wrigley, and he used to say Cubs win when I walked in the door to, and like we'd watch Cubs games together, and he would interpret, I would say Harry Carey things to him all the time. And like growing up, I was always going to hit the home run to win the World Series as a Cub and strike somebody out as a Cub. So they trade you to the Cubs, and you're like, oh, like this is the best of a bad situation. Like this couldn't get better. Like I'm going to the Cubs. Like I'm going from a team that I had really no real connection to, but I loved, to the Cubs. And then the Cubs trade me to the White Sox. And you're like, come on, out of all teams, and then that's when it becomes a business. And that's when that's what it, and then you're, whatever, 12, 14 teams later, you're like, okay, it's a business at this point. Like, I wish I would have stayed with a team. At the same time, the experience of so many different players. Like I retired in 2016 was my last professional big, organized team. I played 17 in independent ball, but like, I still look at these rosters and I still know 4 guys on all these rosters. Like I'm rooting for guys. Kike, like we were teammates. Like we were looking. I'm going through all these rosters. I'm like, well, I know a bunch of these guys. I at least faced a lot of them. Like they're getting old, but I faced them.
Yeah, you had to been really thrilled when the Cubs won the World Series. Then you must have been super happy. Then the fan in you.
It's the fan that the baseball took away a lot of the fandom. And I was still a player when the Cubs won it, and
Sure.
in your heart, somewhere deep down there, you're like, yes. At the same time, you're like, I didn't win it. Just one more year, I didn't win it. And that it makes it hard. And for any player to say they still have that like crazy love for whatever team they grew up for is either still playing for the team they grew up and wanted to like whatever, or they're kind of lying to you. It's not the same. And you experience your dream and then you see the business side of it. And that's hard. It's because it doesn't make you jaded, right? I don't want to say jaded. It's just, it's hard to still have that love for that team when they're your competition. And you're like, I have to beat you or I don't go home. Like I don't get to feed my family. And so it's hard to have that crazy love for them and still be the competition. So you have to choose. You have to choose one way or the other.
Yeah. David, I don't know if you could hear me. You did.
I got you.
Okay, you kind of froze up on my end.
I had you frozen. That's funny. I was
how funny.
I still
there we go. I think we're good.
Oh, I got you. Yeah.
Oh man,
I'm blaming you 100%. It's probably me, but I'm blaming you.
That's all right. It's all right. I take blame for a lot of things, so bring it. It's all good. It's all good, man. I'm used to getting the blame, so what else is new. But yeah, no, I was just wondering about that, because you growing up as a Cubs fan, like they won the World Series in 2016. I wanted to. Are you cool if I grab a couple of questions from the chat?
Yeah, dude, I love it.
Okay, cool. So there's two questions here. One of them is from Ken. He's asking, David, did your sister Amanda ever introduce you to any of the cast members of CSI?
I wasn't expecting that question. Ken, no. My sister was not cool enough to introduce me to any of her superstar like Hollywood friends. Or maybe let me put it this way. I did not do a good enough job of like putting myself into all those positions to know all of her model and superstar friends. So anyone out there doesn't know, my sister was actually a model and actress, and she was actually an athlete too. She was a 4-year letterman in basketball in high school. And she was Miss Teenage California, Miss Teen Colorado. I met Donald Trump and Kobe Bryant together. And that was pretty that's pretty cool little moment when I'm like, I don't know what I was, 14 or something, or 15. And I'm sitting there and walking out to go to the bathroom, and Donald Trump and Kobe Bryant are just hanging out together talking, and you meet them both. And they're like, wow. Like, and Kobe Bryant had just gotten drafted or whatever. And so he hadn't been Kobe Bryant yet, but you knew he was, you knew he was going to be great, but you didn't know he wasn't the Hall of Famer yet. And so that was pretty dang cool. But then she ended up being a model and being an actress and stuff, and never had any of those like huge monster hits. But I in my eyes was a great actress and obviously a great model. But I never like put myself right there in those moments to meet all those people. And I kicked my ass for not like, I'd be married to like somebody super famous now. I mean, I love my wife. She's awesome. Like,
don't let her hear this.
Oh no, my wife's like the coolest person in the world. Trust me, she knows exactly where she stands. She's literally, man. Dude, she's way cooler than me. Like you would rather have her on a show and like have her doing it because she's way cooler. But like I would be a made man. I'd be trophy husband. I'd be just sit there to look good. I'd work out all day. I'd just look pretty. I'd go buy her things and go like bring her. I would for some like model or something. Yeah, I'd be a made man. I'd go with it.
For sure, man. Well, I guess you don't have the you didn't get that, but Still married. I know you're
Oh
happy.
yeah, yeah. Married to like legitimately the coolest person in the world, my best friend, and she's beautiful, and we got two great kids that are amazing.
Nice. No, that's awesome. But no, that was a good question by Ken. So I was just like, yeah, I didn't know your sister was a model actress. That's pretty awesome though. That you had that connection. So
Yeah,
she's
and I
still
ended up.
is she still doing that? I'm assuming, or
I don't know if she's still doing that a little bit. I doubt it. She probably still does some stuff. I mean, once that's in your blood, you probably never want to leave. It's like baseball. Like you're still always doing it a little bit. So I'm sure she is still on the side. Probably doesn't talk about it as much, whatever. But like she's married to Ryan Roland Smith. So I introduced them when I was in with the Mariners, and so she's married to one of my old teammates.
I see. Okay.
Yeah,
Okay.
first
Well,
player
yeah,
to ever have a hyphen in his name, and I'm the first player ever alphabetically. So she's trying to check every box. I bet. I guess. I don't know.
I did read that you were the first person alphabetically. So I'm like, all right, that's good. That's got to
Yeah.
be a good feeling, man. And yeah, well, you know what, man? Honestly, I was gonna say too, because somebody in the chat mentioned it. Maybe it's a good thing you didn't marry somebody famous, because sometimes they end up being a little crazy. I'm just saying.
Yes. Yes, that's true. And my wife's awesome. And like the Crazy Hot Matrix, she's very low on the Crazy Hot Matrix, probably as low as you can get and still be my wife. And so we're good. She's not a unicorn. We don't capture her and hold her away. If you ever seen that, you ever seen the Crazy Hot Matrix?
The Crazy Hot Matrix.
Or the Hot Crazy Matrix? I think that's the official way to say it. Dude, okay, you have
yeah.
it. If you don't know, then yes, everybody go out there, make sure you check that out. Send the link because it's one of the funniest videos in the world. The Hot Crazy Matrix.
It's on YouTube.
Yes.
Okay. Hot Crazy Matrix. I'll just type that into the chat so everybody can, you know, tune in and watch it.
Yes.
But Hot Crazy Matrix, folks, go check it out.
I just clicked comments. Oh wow, there's a lot.
Yeah. You could see the comments on your end too.
Yes.
So
I had on like I didn't even know that. That's great.
yeah.
Who
So
said, hey legs? What's up, Rodney Green? That's not about me.
So no. He's talking to somebody else.
Okay.
You'll get some some funny folks in here. So watch your comments, people. He can see it. All right. So
Yeah, now I can see it. Watch out.
y'all better be nice. The second question I wanted to bring up here, David. Chris Dudley wanted to ask this question. He says, your best advice for a parent of a 15-year-old pitcher who's starting to get attention. I'm careful with his arm health, but what else should I worry about? Thanks.
Girls.
Nice. Yes.
No. I would say this, but that is a real thing, right? I mean, again, like that is actually a real problem, and a lot of guys that I train. So I train pitchers right now. So
Yes.
outside of it, it's about just staying focused. It's about understanding the priorities that baseball and school and social life all have to coexist somehow, right? So girls can exist, school has to exist, because without school, you're not going to be able to play baseball further on. So one thing I always tell people is to understand that there's 3 lives you can get. There's a baseball life. You can do this in anything. There's a baseball life or sports life, whatever you want to call it, a school life, and a social life. You only get 2 of the 3. Okay. If you want to enjoy, just have the best social life and have the best high school, and he's 15, so he's about to be 16, 17, and going into those years of high school and the partying, right? Like all that stuff. If you want that, then you got to make a choice between baseball and school. But if you choose baseball and school fails, you don't get to play baseball, right? So if you choose, I want to have the great school life, well, you choose social or baseball, and like, well, if you choose social, well, then baseball is going to fail. And so if you choose baseball and school, well, social life is going to be a little tougher, but make sure they're okay with that. Make sure they understand there's a balance there. They can still have friends and still have a great life. But if they want to be focused on baseball, they got to have those as a priority. And to move on, I would also say, make sure they're strong, lifting and mobility regularly, like take care of it. Throwing and watching your throwing is a monster deal. But at the same time, they have to be stronger and get mobile with it and keep improving. Without a doubt, they have to get stronger. And then the other thing I would say is find a great pitching coach who can understand what your son is really good at and make them great at it. I was really good at throwing a fastball, and I got great at throwing a fastball. And then I learned the other things around it and pitching. So that's some of the things I would tell you.
Well, there you go. Hopefully that was some Chris, hopefully you got that advice and you carry with it, man. So 15 years old and he's getting attention. That's awesome. That's awesome. I'm glad that's happening. But hopefully it turns into something even bigger and better for your son. And he's saying thank you. So
absolutely.
Yeah, appreciate that. Yeah, appreciate you answering that, man. So,
and I would say this too, Chris. Anytime, like my socials are basically at the DA53 on everything. I also have Top Velocity Pros, my pitching business that I work with. Reach out to me anytime, and any other questions, send video, man. I love it, and we can talk further from there.
Yeah, real quick, I am posting David's X page. So on X or Twitter, whatever you want to call it.
Right.
So I still call it Twitter sometimes. Sometimes I'll call it X. And I'll even put the website because I know you have your own website for. Oh,
yes.
Sorry about that.
TopVelocityPro.com.
Yeah, TopVelocityPro.com. So I know.
And yes, I can. I have taught an old man to pitch before, Rodney. Like 100%. I actually had somebody who was 60 come to me wanting to pitch in a men's league. His dream was to pitch in the men's league. He had never pitched before, and he had knee problems and back issues and all this stuff. And so I actually got him his final game ever of his life. He pitched in a men's league game.
Nice. Did well too. Awesome.
I say life. His baseball life. He ended up quitting after that because he reached his goal.
Yeah, no, that's awesome, man. But that's the website right there, folks. TopVelocityPro.com. So, he's got, David's got his own school. So I know you help pitchers develop, get better. I was reading on there that you also deal with like nutrition and exercise and all that. So all that plays a factor too. I mean, I know, just from playing sports and me, still, training. So I've actually been training in martial arts for quite some time now. So
what do you do?
Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu, Muay Thai, a little boxing,
okay,
little MMA. So I really enjoy it. And so if there's anybody that's like at my gym that's competing, it's just cool to be a training partner and me get my butt kicked and whatever. So, and me kicking their butts. I'm not going to let them kick my butt. So, but
I love it, dude. I got in MMA. I got into Muay Thai for a little while. I did Krav for a while. Nice. I just haven't found a great place here in the last couple of years to do Krav, but I want to do Krav. I want to do more. I love it.
Yeah. I don't know any places in Arizona. I was like, here in Colorado, there's plenty of there's a lot of Krav places, a lot of MMA gyms, man. Only if you were living here, I would have been like, dude, come join us.
Right.
But yeah, Colorado's huge for MMA. There's a lot of fighters in the UFC that train out here. So, but that's that's a story for a different day. But I know. So it sounds like with your school that you're doing, you help pitchers develop and get better. Is it mostly guys in like college players, high school players? Like who? I know you said you dealt with somebody that was older. Who the majority of your clients are who?
High school mainly. Mainly, but I got pro guys. I got high school, college. I've got middle school, elementary school, kind of everything. And so I don't close the doors for anybody. Like if you want to become a better thrower, that's what I do, man. I'll make you a better thrower. That's what in any aspect. And like my son's a quarterback, and so I help him with that. So just understanding the biomechanics and what makes you the best you possible.
Yeah, for sure. So do you deal with Major League Baseball players too?
Yes.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah. Okay. And I take it high school players, you probably like helping them out the most, right? Because they're young and they're gonna listen.
Sometimes.
Sometimes. I'm
There's a
sure.
big difference though. Like there's a big difference in middle school and high school, at the beginning of years of high school, the older years of high school, and then college and the guys that are like searching for something like after
Mhm.
college or like minor league or like independent ball guys. There's a big difference because their minds are more open. Like the younger guys, their minds are more open to it. Then you get these older high school kids that kind of feel like they know it, and you're like, you got to just open up your mind just a little bit. And then you get these college guys that definitely know it. And then you get these college guys that are like, I know how to get better, and they just kind of throw something against the wall because they know their clock's ticking. And those like independent ball guys, like their clock is ticking, and they've got like months before their career's over. And then you got those minor leaguers, big leaguers, where it's like you got to basically like you're polishing a diamond. It's like, hey, you're just trying to figure out what's the one thing that guy needs to hear to get better, right? And all of this, where some guys need a lot more.
Oh, see. Okay. Yeah, because I know, sometimes coaching it could be really difficult, because you're dealing with so many different personalities and dealing with egos essentially. I mean, I know you definitely deal with a lot of egos because I know you were with the Blue Jays in their as a player development person.
Yes.
So did that bring you any kind of joy or excitement for you, or how did you enjoy that?
I loved it. I loved doing the front office with the Blue Jays. It was a tough position. It was 24/7, 365. I mean, I was on vacations answering phones. I was on the mountain skiing answering phones about, like
Yeah,
it was incredible the amount of work that goes on behind the scenes.
I can imagine.
And I wasn't ready for that. And I had a hard time separating myself. Like going home, there's no going home. Like I would go to the facility at 8 in the morning. I'd be leaving at 5, 6 at night, but then all the affiliates just were starting their games. So then I'm sitting at home having dinner, watching games until 1 in the morning, going back to the facility at 8 a.m. for the next day. And that was just nonstop, let alone having to understand the games and understand the data behind it and understanding the trends behind it while doing your job every day. That was extremely difficult, but I loved the challenge of it. And then you're creating goals for all these players. Then you're creating like it's so far beyond just sitting there and going, okay, cool. Like let's just have everybody throw every day and lift, and we're going to be just fine, man. The amount of work that you do in the front office behind the scenes, it's insane because every single player in that organization has a goal. Every single player, like, and then it's like, how do you? And I even saw something like, oh, analytics, 100%, analytics. At the same time, analytics is a tool in your tool bag, and then in your box. Like how do you tell somebody? It's some kid who's 20 years old who understands analytics that you're not going to follow analytics. Like they get it, they understand it. Like you go, okay, it's not everything, but it's a tool. It's one part. And the thing about it is now we can quantify what a fastball looks like. We can describe it to them, and the catcher can talk about it, and the hitter can talk about it. Well, now like we can also say, yeah, but these are the numbers that they're saying. They're saying the ball looks like this. Cool. This is the data that's telling you that. So we can either do it in one of two ways. Let's do it old school. Let's watch the ball. And if it's doing that, perfect. But if you're not sure, let's look at the numbers. And then say, okay, well, today you feel a little off. All right, well, this is what do you feel? Well, these are the numbers backing it up. Or this is the video backing it up. These kids looking at their phone 24/7. So they're nonstop looking at their phone and watching videos and watching stuff and watching everybody's data and all this stuff. They're looking at this. But then as an organization, I got to be able to sit there and say, okay, this is how they're learning. This is how I have to teach. I can't. That's where a lot of the problem with the old school mindset and where that doesn't necessarily cross over, because you're taking a bunch of kids that learn differently than we did. You're taking these kids they're not living life the same life that we lived. So we as old people and have to be able to take the concepts of old school and add it to what these kids need to hear, and then be able to say, okay, let's come with me a little bit, like massage it a little bit. I don't need to give you data all the time. I don't. but I better be able to understand it. And I, behind the closed doors, better be able to sit there and run through data and go, okay, this is what matters, this is what matters, this is what matters, this is what matters. And I even some people like they would have pulled Trinan and all this stuff. Like, yes, sometimes, yes, it would have told you to pull them. At the same time, that's where you got to understand feel of a game and flow of a game and understand that. But telling you in a game to pull Trinan or to keep or Bueller and all that stuff doesn't tell you about the years of work it took to get them to the big leagues, to learn Blake Trinan that his sinker could be the best sinker in baseball. And if he does this with his fingers versus that, his sinker will be better. And now he's in the big leagues almost closing out a game in the World Series, in Game 5 of the World Series, because 4 years ago, some data nerd told him to put his fingers here instead of there. And that added 2 inches of drop, which made him one of the best pitchers in baseball. And you're looking at Walker Bueller and saying, yeah, but your curveball, if you throw it here versus there, this is 3 inches less of drop. That's 3 inches more of drop. This is a swing and miss against Giancarlo Stanton when the game's on the line. This is a foul ball, and that's a home run. And that's what the data does, is it backs you up. But at the same time, we can still teach the old school while understanding that's the difference between a swing and miss and not. And that's why you're sitting there going frustrated about that foul ball when you go, well, it had 300 less RPMs on it. This is 300 more RPMs. Get that. And they go, oh, they swing and miss. Yep. And now you can make that crossover where data matters, but it's not your world.
Yeah, I mean, analytics is here to stay, right? Like it's not going anywhere. It's definitely not going anywhere, especially where the sport is heading. You know, where the sport of baseball is heading. I mean, it's definitely heading in a different direction. Because this is a question that always comes up, you know, with analytics, and you broke it down amazing. So that was awesome. And I've had former players, and I've had on here. And coaches, right? Whether it be a hitting coach, right? Like last week, I had Alex Cintron, the hitting coach of the Houston Astros.
Oh, cool.
And you know,
I believe we played together. I think we played together.
You might have maybe Arizona.
I played with everybody. I
was going to say
played against them. Probably played against them. I feel like I played with them.
Yeah. But you know, because that's a question that always comes up that I'll always ask of like analytics.
Yeah.
You know, what do you think of analytics? How do you feel about it? And I've talked to some of the old school guys. They're not really about it. And then, I talked to guys like you who are saying, you know, and some of the other guys that are saying there needs to be a balance, right? There's analytics, and then you also got to put eyes on the game. So
yes.
The problem, I think the problem that I've seen with analytics, I think it's just there's a lot of players that overthink it, whether they're on the mound or they're up to bat or they're at the plate at making their at bats.
I'll say this.
Go ahead.
There's never been a lack of overthinking in baseball. Now, there's never been a problem with overthinking. Like overthinking has always been an issue. There's never been a lack of overthinking. Pitchers have always overthought, and pitchers are always generally more analytical than hitting, even before analytics was even a term. Sure. They used to think about everything, like trying to set up a bats and do this, and you're just destroying your own process. And we can sit back to some of these great pitchers like, oh, they were so simple. Yeah, they're great, but they were also ahead of time. Like ask Greg Maddux if pitching was simple. Yeah, he can tell you it's simple, but there was 1,000 different processes going on through his head before data was ever a thing. Smoltz was the same thing. It doesn't matter what name you put. Like there was a process constantly. Some people can handle it, some people can't. Like hitters break down because they just can't handle constant thinking, overthinking. And we talk about being simple, but then the problem is simple is the idea that if you're so simple, then how do you change and get better throughout a bat, right? And so analytics, the biggest key, and I know you're saying this, is how do we keep it so simple and give you what you need and what's the simplest process? I think a lot of these teams have gotten really good at that, where we're seeing this as something to be so scared of. Teams are seeing it as, how do I simplify this and just give them what they need? We behind the scenes can break down all these numbers in a million different ways, and I can make you the best hitter in the world or the worst hitter in the world, the best pitcher in the world, the worst pitcher in the world, depending on how data I want to pull it. Unless you're Mason Miller, which you're pretty much the greatest at everything. right? Like we can do that. Or like one of the biggest things I did with the Blue Jays was because like we didn't really use analytics with player development yet. We
Right.
used it for trade evaluation, but not player development. So my big thing was getting with the data nerds, like and the geeks up there that are too smart for their own good, but love baseball so much and just weren't the players. A lot of people don't understand this. The data nerds were people that just crazy about baseball, but they weren't good at it. So they got crazy about baseball in another way and understand baseball. There's more value than just like looking at the picture on the front. The back of the card interested them. And that's what these guys love baseball. They're crazy about it. They're not trying to ruin the game. They're trying to find value where nobody else is finding it, right? The Moneyball thing. They're trying to find that value in a different way. And so when they're looking at it and going, okay, we find all this and those this and this, and I'm looking at it from my player standpoint, going, okay, pump the brakes. What matters? And so we did something with the Blue Jays. We said, what mattered? And then you're like, what really matters? Why is this player going to get moved up to the big leagues and not that player? And we said, how do we tell that to a player? And so we created a sheet, and the sheet was 3 sections. It was, do you make people swing and miss? Is your stuff nasty? Is what we called it, nasty. Then and we called it weak contact. So are they hitting the ball hard or soft? When they do hit the ball, are they hitting it hard or soft? And then we had it basically just an evaluation of your pitches versus the rest of your age level, and then versus the age above you, the level above you. So if you're an A-ball player, we're comparing you to double A. And if you're a double A player, triple A player, we're comparing you to the big leagues and triple A. So like you'd be the greatest triple A player, but all your data shows that you're going to be an average big leaguer. Okay, let's make you not average. Let's make you a little bit better than average, right? That's our goal, is make everybody a little bit better than average. And we have all better than average, pretty good. And so we were able to sit there until a team and basically we're able to sit there with a player and walk him through why he's good or why he's struggling. Hey, you're not missing bats, and when you're not missing bats, they're hitting it hard, and your stuff is below average. Cool. What are we going to do about it? And what are the numbers? And this is the biggest question I asked all the data course for. What are the numbers that matter within that? Okay. Well, his fastball is an RPM of this, and it's completely average at this plane and this break and this angle. And you're like, okay, and then I'd say, what are one of those things that we can change to make him not average anymore? And I had to teach that, though, to all my coaches. And then I had to teach my coaches to be able to have that conversation to players. That's hard. Sometimes it comes across as data. Oh, God, data. Oh. And sometimes you sit there and go, okay, I can either let this player burn and just kind of be average, or I can use the data to show him, like, there's another road, dude. Like, let's change this one thing and see what happens. And if we get a little better, let's change a little bit more. And then let's reevaluate. And that's hard to do. At the same time, it's what it takes is loving data and then understanding, let's push it away a little bit. Like, I love it. All right, cool. Let's put you right here. And then understand, like, at some point, the player just needs to have the ball in his hand and go get some outs. And that's part of the evaluation too, dude. Are you getting outs? Like, got to get outs. I don't care how good your stuff is. You got to get outs. And that was part of that data sheet too. Like, are you just having success or not? And like, you could have average stuff and have success. We're good.
Yeah. So essentially, you know your stuff, man. So it's always I'm intrigued. I always like to learn this stuff. So especially from ex-ball players, I mean, why not? So it's always good to hear. Yeah,
I will say this: there's nothing more frustrating in my soul than listening to the broadcast of the World Series and hearing every single time somebody hits the ball, Jessica Mendoza goes, "Oh, that was 109 miles per hour off the bat at 42 launch angle."
Yeah,
shut up. We don't care. Like, I don't care, and I know all what that means. I know what it means. I understand why it's important to coach certain things. At some point, dude, he hit the ball hard. Great. We can see it. We know they hit the ball hard. I don't need to know the number when it's above average. Like when it's 116, cool. Let me know. Like that's super whatever. But like Stop.
That's funny. So essentially, with analytics, you got to know, you got to figure out what is important. What's going to be, what information is going to be important to a player, and what's, basically don't fill the player's mind up with too much junk. Just give them the tool just give them exactly what they need. Everything else, it's in the back burner. You just got to figure out what's good and what's going to be beneficial and what's not going to be beneficial.
Also understand every player is different. Some guys
Yes.
totally don't tell them a single thing. Like don't worry about it, dude. We got it. Well, as a coach, I'm just going to be so simple with you. Like you worry about your leg in this angle and just come back, set your hips and go, dude. Or you know what I tell dude, grab this ball and throw this as hard as you can at the top part of the zone. That's it. That's all I want you to think about. And then behind the scenes, my job as a coach is to understand all that stuff. And then there's the next guy. There's the Zach Greinke who wants to know everything. And I have to sit down and be able to have that conversation and let him determine what he wants to know. And so but that's coaching, man. That's coaching. It just makes it harder because there's more information out there. And honestly, if you're not doing it, someone else is, and they're probably better than you.
Yeah, 100%, man. 100%. There's a couple of people that asked similar questions here. I got it pulled up. So why are pitchers getting injured so frequently? And then any insight on the prevalence of Tommy John surgeries in today's game? So similar questions.
And this little guy here. Why are guys injured so frequently? Radar gun. So simple. It's so simple. People are trying to put so much hard things on it. It's so simple. When you are 10 and 12, like I'm out at my son's game at 11-year-old football, 11-year-old baseball game, and they're radar gunning every kid, every pitch on the team. I get it. If you're secretly just tracking it and you're so like, cool, like you were 11, now you're 14, now you're 16, and you see the progression, great. But if you're sitting there telling everybody the velocity nonstop, you're going to end up with injuries, because when you're coming up through the high school and then college and minor leagues and all that stuff, we're constantly evaluating you on fastball velocity. And this is just where the game is, because this is it just sucks at where it is, and it's never going to go away. As much as I want it to go away, like I would say, you want to take away Tommy John injuries, take away radar guns. That's it. It's a simplest thing, because then you have to pitch. You have to hit locations. You have to learn how to take something off and add, and take it off and add, versus everything you have every single pitch. Because here's the problem is what we do in the front office, and I think we did a great job of not doing this as Blue Jays when I was there. But again, I don't know. It's when you don't throw a pitch with your best spin rate, with your best break or whatever, the analytics guys be like, hey, like what happened here? These pitches weren't that good. The data is showing these pitches were 20% worse than your regular pitches. And you have to answer to that saying, well, I took a little off on it. Doesn't really feel good to your pitching coach and wanting to make to the next level, because there's just this understanding of pressure saying, yeah, but you are capable of doing this every single time. Do that. Like make your best pitch every time. Driveline does this. Like all these other organizations do this. These pitching organizations, they try to put you in these silos and say your best pitch has to be every single time. Like no matter what, first pitch of the game to the last pitch of the game has to be your best pitch. And when you're not doing that, they're getting evaluated by people like me, not me. I didn't do this, but people like me saying, well, yeah, but they didn't throw their best pitch all the time. Like, no, like that's the problem, is like every pitch has to be their best pitch. And that just adds so much stress every single time, because if you're capable of doing it, now data tells you have to do it every time. And that's the problem, where back in the day when we used to sit there and say, well, yeah, you're capable, wait until you have to. Like I had Kurt Schilling on one of my shows once, and you say, dude, we all threw at 85%, 90% max until we had to throw at 100%. And now it's no, 100% is your best pitch, and that's going to get a strikeout. So what you do is every pitch you throw at 100%, and you have to throw your hardest slider all the time and your best changeup every single time. Dude, it's going to add up.
Yeah, well, I mean, that's the name of the game now with these pitchers, right? It's just throw the ball hard, don't worry. I mean, if you get hurt, you get hurt, but that seems to be the thing. but they're very focused on just throwing the ball hard. Where you brought up a guy like Greg Maddux, and his name has come up a few times with whenever I've talked with former pitchers. Greg Maddux, who's to say if he would make it in the make it in today's Major League Baseball?
Yeah.
So yeah, it's just it's so interesting because and I know you've probably got a few more minutes, I'm sure. So I do appreciate you hanging out. So the thing too is I'm hearing injuries to kids now because they're forcing kids to throw hard. High school kids. I've even heard like 12-year-olds. Is this like a thing?
100%. I mean, 12-year-olds are getting hurt, but again, 12-year-olds always got hurt. But now 12-year-olds, I think, are just playing so much and specialized. 12-year-olds, I mean, I played with 12-year-olds that got hurt. It's just that they just fell off and you never heard from them again. They didn't play baseball after that type of thing. Now there is such a more, we're looking at it at such a different lens, I think. But again, yeah, these kids are nonstop and they're constantly pitching. Like we go to these tournaments. My kid's on a team that plays tournaments. And I'm, as the pitching coach, me and Joaquin Soria are the pitching coaches. Like, we do not let anybody throw more than 60 pitches on a weekend. But and like to throw 2 times on a weekend is like, I mean, we're like sitting there like, we're risky. Gonna do everything we can. I saw a team where a kid threw Friday through like 60 pitches, Saturday through 40 pitches, Sunday through another 60 pitches. Like, and he's our kid's age. He's 12.
Yeah.
And like, that's not that crazy uncommon. And then we're sitting there wondering why these guys are hurt. And like, yeah, we used to do that as kids, but we weren't throwing it as hard as we could every time. We were throwing it for a strike and just letting them hit it. And we're saying, okay, cool. Like, hit this one. Oh, I'll try to hit this one. And we're having fun, but we weren't stressing our arms out like this. Like, every pitch is a strike as hard as you can. And that's where the stress comes. And that's where the problem isn't that we're pitching more or less. We're actually pitching less than we probably ever used to. Mm-hmm. We're just pitching at such a higher intensity than we used to.
Yeah, absolutely. Because it's just these injuries. I mean, they're so alarming. There's been a ton of there's been a ton of injuries in baseball, particularly with pitchers this season. It seemed like every day I wake up in the morning, oh, this person's going to be out for 4 to 6 weeks.
The entire Dodgers pitching staff.
Yeah, prime example, right? And then even like you look at a team like the Miami Marlins, who have like potential for good starting pitching. Their entire pitching rotation was done. They were just done before the season even started. It's like I don't know. It's scary. It's scary. That's all I'm going to say about it, man. But any other? I know you got to go soon, but anything else you want to close out with? Anything you want to say to the chat? It was great having you on here. I had a lot of fun. Had some great conversations, man. Would love to do it again for sure.
Yes, no, guys, I appreciate this. I love that I finally found the chat. It took me too long to find this. This is cool. I love the concept of this show. Thank you for having me on. Understand, don't be okay. I know we talked about data a lot and analytics. Like I need it and I love it at the same time. Don't be afraid of it. I would say this: be afraid of a team that doesn't use it well. Be more like, I love teams that use it right. And like, there's a reason why you constantly see the same type of people in big games and coaching staffs, because they use it right. And like, understand that players today, it's a tool. It's just a tool in your tool bag. And so don't be afraid of it. Mm-hmm. Accept it. It's never going anywhere. But again, just use it right. And it's a piece. We can be better for it. And also, don't overpitch your kids.
There you go. All right.
Thank you. This is awesome. Thank you for everybody.
Yeah, thank you. And you have your own podcast, you said. Is it on YouTube?
Yes, we got YouTube, Man Cave Sports. The show is Closers, but on Man Cave Sports. But again, you can find me at the DA53 on basically everything, or Top Velocity Pro is my pitching business. But yeah, Man Cave Sports is the show that I recorded right before this.
Nice. Yeah, put that into the chat. So Man Cave Sports is David's YouTube page. The DA53 on X.
Yes.
And then you could visit his website, which is topvelocitypro.com, folks. So yeah, if you want to connect with David, there's your options. So make sure you all go follow him on Twitter. So Desiree says she's going to follow you now. Cool, Desiree. Awesome. Thank you.
Yes,
But,
Desiree, thank you.
Yep. But David, again, thank you for coming on. This was a great conversation. Love to get you on again in the future, whenever that may be. But
Right.
maybe before the season starts or something. I don't know. But
Hey, anytime. And again, I'm also working on MLB Network Radio, so I'm
did see
on
that.
there. I had a chance to host a show this morning. I couldn't because of timing, but that would have been awesome.
Cool. Yeah, and I'm following you on X right now, so I'll reach out. Don't worry, I won't spam you, I promise. But but David, thank you so much, man, and have a great day. Good luck to you, and we'll see you on again.
Yeah, thank you.
Thank you. All right, you're welcome. See you later, man. But well, that was a lot of fun. Hopefully you all enjoyed the conversation. Hopefully you all took something away from the conversation. It's always cool to have former ball players come on the channel and give insight and on the sport, and they give their own experiences, which is always cool. So that was a lot of fun. I really had a lot of fun talking with David. So Man Cave Sports is the YouTube page. So Man Cave Sports. That's the name. So hopefully y'all enjoyed the conversation. Appreciate everybody that did tune in. So I don't know when I'll go live again. I'm probably gonna go live again on Sunday. So you'll probably see me here on Sunday. We'll get that. I'll get that all figured out, and then I'm supposed to jump on with the Ace Avenue tomorrow at 5:00. So on his channel. So we're probably gonna break down the Yankees. I think the postseason and regular season. I think we're going to talk a little bit about that. So I hope to see all of you there. So make sure you all subscribe to the Ace Avenue if you haven't yet. What's up, Ken? Thank you so much, Ken. Yeah, I appreciate it. That was a fun interview. That really was. I really enjoyed it. D-Rod, I think you'll have some great success with your website of Dad Bod Sports. It's right. It seems like it's right up your alley. You're talking about here when they come out to Colorado, Rodney? Yeah. As far as that goes, I need to get that. I want to get that coordinated because I know there's a few folks that are trying to come out here to Colorado to go to the Yankees game. So yeah, we need to figure out the tickets so we can all be sitting together. Just make sure everybody's comfortable with whatever money people are comfortable spending. So there's a little bit of time for that, but we'll try and jump on that as early as possible. But yeah, there's a few other folks that I know, so I need to coordinate with them as well because I know Nosebleed section has made a mention of it about he's going to come out here with his wife, and then I know the Gustos. You all know, if you all don't know Gusto, him and Brian and Tracy, they are the Gustins. They're going to we were talking about them coming up here too. So we need to get that coordinated for sure, man. So let's see how many people are actually going to come out, and if they are going to come out, get that all figured out. But you should meet up with your nephew in Colorado. That way you should come out in May, man, for the Rockies Yankees game. I think it'll be a lot of fun to get a group going, and then you could also judge in Colorado, right? So hopefully we could get a group of people, some other folks coming in. So, but folks, I am gonna shut it down here, and I do appreciate you all tuning in as you always do. I always appreciate the support. Thank you all. Let's continue supporting this channel, right? Hit that subscribe button if you are new to this channel. Hit that like button. Share this channel out with everyone you know. All right, we're gonna. I'm gonna try to do more interviews like this in the off season. I think it'll be perfect. So Let's see what happens. I'll just got to talk to my boy Nathan and figure that all out. But until then, folks, enjoy the rest of your day. Enjoy your evening. All right. I'll see you all next time. Take it easy. All right. And I'll see. Yeah, who would have thought you're following a Yankee streamer? Yeah, there you go. There you go, bro. We talk all things. I mean, it's mostly Yankees talk, but it's always, I'll talk other things baseball too. So, thank you for tuning in. Matt Antonelli. Yeah, we'll see. I'll see what I could figure out there. But until then, folks, y'all take it easy. Thank you all again. See y'all next time.